All right, hi again, everybody. Yeah, you can tell that we're still on the swing, on the porch, and I guess we're on a roll. So we finally had some time to sit down together and make some more episodes. This episode, we're gonna start the process of talking about religion, a pretty heavy duty topic, um, and one that a lot of people are struggling with, particularly the LGBT community, but not, of course, not just. A lot of people are struggling with it. So I want to open up um, by putting the intention out there that Spirit speak through us, and that whatever message that whoever needs to hear it, whatever message you need to hear, that message comes through clearly with what we have to say today, and that it is of service and of help to those of you who view it. I just want to open up here and just tell you a little bit about my own religious background, very briefly. I was lucky, I will say, because I was not beat over the head with a fundamentalist 2 by 4. My father was Jewish, my mother from Episcopalian background, um, and my mother and her sister were very open minded in terms of things like reincarnation and astrology and life after death and things and psychic phenomena. So I went to this place called the Christine Center back in the 70s. God, I wish there was one of those today, which was just totally awesome. I mean, the reverends, it was sort of Christian based, and the reverends were often female, and sometimes they were spirit mediums, and we had a library of occult and psychic books, and we talked about, past lives and spirit guides and all kinds of fantastic
That's
things.
cool.
Um, and, we also celebrated the Jewish holidays and the traditional Christian holidays. So, in brief, although I was not um, harmed in some ways from my particular family in terms of religion, like some people were seemed to be harmed, um, I was from the wider society. I mean, it was a clear message that gay people are sinners, we're abominations, we're going to go to hell. Clear message from society, and that did definitely affect me, as well as many other messages. And I just want to say here um, that I don't believe it's religion itself that is hurtful. It is the people who are using particular aspects of particular religions to try to control, change, mold, punish other people for being who they are. That is the root cause of the harm. I also just want to say one last thing, and that is that I have always believed and still do believe there is a very distinct difference between religion and spirituality. Now, ideally, you want them together, um, but spirituality doesn't come with any particular doctrine or form or ritual. It's personal. It's a belief, and it could come out in many, many ways. Um, Whereas religion is generally a set of doctrine based on a sacred text, based on a set of rituals that one is to follow in order to be a good adherent of that religion. So I do think that they're different things. So I myself am very spiritual, have many different beliefs, and they don't really fit into one religion. So with that, I think Ty has a story she wants to share with you. So I'm going to turn it over to her, and I'll interrupt if I feel moved.
Okay. I started attending, by my own choice, a non denominational church when I was 14 years old. I was in that church until I was, I think, 18, and then I went into the Army. But I also knew that I was a healer. I had seen and done some things that I wasn't really sure how they happened or why around that same time of 14 years old. I also have seen spirits, I've seen angels since I was young, very young. So, and I think the first time I can remember seeing them was around age 11. So, uh, being raised in a non denominational church, we were very, I guess, stringent on following the Bible, following, all of the Christian principles. Uh, Gosh, fast forward to what, about 3 years ago, maybe.
Sure.
So about 3 years ago, and some things happened about 3 years ago which changed my views. But along the way, I had a lot of questions. Things just didn't add up. creationism and certain things. I couldn't get through my head how did it work, and you know I ask a lot of questions. I always have, and so I couldn't answer some of the questions
They
that
didn't make sense
the
to you.
right the church was teaching things that when I would ask questions they would say, oh, don't ask that question, it's in the Bible, that's how it is, which didn't fly with me. So about 3 years ago, um, actually let's go back before that. About 8 years ago, I went through an extremely traumatic time in my life. um, I was in a very, very bad place, uh, and I relied on my faith basically to stay alive. And it saved my life along with Ruth and some other friends. Um, but at that time, once I kind of got through that, I really started to question things even more, deeper, or deep, whatever. Um, so about 3 years ago, I actually started on what I call my spiritual journey, and I really started to look into spirituality. And as Ruth said, totally different from religion. Um, I still do have some of my beliefs from before, but the churches that I went to were very, very much against homosexuality. As recently as maybe probably 5 or 6 years ago,
Mm.
I started attending a church here in the area. Loved the preacher, great guy. He would preach in jeans and a polo shirt, or a T-shirt even. Great guy. Had a full band. The worship was all good. Everything was great until they started preaching against homosexuality.
I remember that.
And
Yeah, you tell me about
I can't hide who I am. I mean, you look at me and you pretty much know. And
that. No.
I mean, it was so uncomfortable in that church that even to go and use the bathroom, I would get looks. People would say things to
Mm.
me, and this was in the church. Now, Christian principles are love, justice, hospitality, all these kinds of good things. They teach in the Bible faith, hope, and love, and the greatest of these is love. And we don't see that. We don't see that coming out in the people that call themselves Christians. And so I really got away from
Some
the
of the
church.
people.
Some of the people, yeah. Um, so I really got away from the church altogether and started looking into this spirituality. And I've found that the faith that I had in the church, when I was in the church, I should say, and the beliefs that I have now are similar. I do believe very strongly that there is a higher power, that we do have a higher self that guides us. I have spirit guides. I talk to the angels. I talk to animals, and those kinds of things. But I really am angry with the church um, for the things that they taught that aren't even necessary. So what I'd like
Can I
to
interrupt your
go
flow?
right ahead.
I feel moved to just add something
That's
right
fine.
there. Okay, thanks. Um, and that's something that I've wanted to say was about the anger towards the church. I too have felt it, even though I did not have a similar experience directly. I too have felt that anger, and a lot of people have. And what kind of I did at first was kind of shoo away all Christians, all Christianity, all fundamentalist religions of any kind. Just kind of go like that, ironically enough, to all things church and all things religion, and that's kind of where I needed to be for a while in order to just say, well, they're obviously wrong. And so you kind of throw the baby out with the bathwater. It's taken me a long time, and I know this process is even more difficult for people who have been through evangelistic kind of, you know, um, things, anti-homosexual agenda stuff. But for me, it took me a long time to be able to kind of understand that there's a lot of just wonderful, loving, good, positive, accepting people in in the churches, and we talk a lot about Christianity because this not that's a lot of what our experience has been. But that it's not Christianity per se that's the problem. It's certain people's interpretation of it. So it's taken me a long time to kind of tease that out and not be so angry and resentful towards Christians as a group because they're all different, towards the church as a whole because all of them are different, it's taken me a long time to be able to separate that. I just
Yeah.
wanted to say that because I know a lot of people have also experienced that deep resentment and anger
Yeah,
and
and
hurt.
and one of the people that I went to high school with, a friend of mine, and that I also attended this church with, um, she's very devoted Christian, and she's a good woman. I mean, she is what I now view Christianity and how it should be, because she's very giving of her time. She has a sick little boy, um, but she does so much for other people, for her family, and she is just such a good role model
Mm.
for Christianity itself. And I just love her to pieces. But one of the things that I had a problem with is when she would post things from the Bible, or the things that she believes, and she would put those things on Facebook. And I found myself just really, I can't handle that. I can't stand it. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to read it. And I really had to look at myself and figure out,
Yeah.
you know, it's not her religion. It's not her. It's not the things that she's saying. It's not the Bible. It's how I was taught to view it. And being a lesbian, that's not a good lens to look through because of the hurt and the things that I've been through in the past. And so what I really had to do is try to separate, like you said, and look at her as the good, loving person that she is, and say to myself, she doesn't hate me because I'm a lesbian.
Yeah.
She shows the kind of love that I think Jesus and some of the other teachers came here to teach. And there's this meme on Facebook that says Jesus wasn't a Christian, Buddha wasn't a Buddhist, and things like that.
True.
They were teachers and they came here to teach love. And I really believe that. Because I'm not sure Jesus would agree with Christianity as it is today. But anyway, I think we're going to have a second part to this. But I think the major point that we're both trying to get to here is this. If you are gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, any of those things, you may not find your place in the Christian church, but there's a place for you. Everyone has worth. Everyone has the capacity to love, to be loved, and to be a loving person. So I think it's really important to keep that in mind. Um, if you're having problems because your faith and your homosexuality or your bisexuality or your transgender status, if you're having trouble because of those things and they don't mesh with your faith, the things you were taught as a child and the way that you grew up, please email us. We can put you in contact with different organizations. There are good churches out there. There are good counselors and people out there to talk to. There are good groups to get into. Ruth and I are in a group. It's just a very loving group, and it's made up of all kinds of people, not just different sexualities, but different religious beliefs. And it's a loving, caring place to go and to share your feelings. So I would urge you, if you're having problems or you're feeling, like you're just not accepted and you can't live in this life being gay and having faith, you're wrong. You can. And there are good things that you can do and places to go. So we will put our email address up. We'll also post this on YouTube and on Facebook. But if you are considering suicide or anything else, contact us. Contact someone. We're running short on time, so we have to go on this one, but we will follow up with a second part. So
Absolutely. Talk to you all soon. Thank you for listening.